So in this series of videos, we're covering just the basics of graphical programming in the Cassini test environment. And so in this one, I want to cover getting started with a new test plan, some basics about the user interface of the test plan environment, and then talk about saving test plans and saves versus save as and what that looks like, how to search previously created test plans in the Guru database. And then the last bit I want to cover is some of the features that are available for looking at the test plan file history, in addition to look at iterative changes that happen in the test plan. So I'll show you the tools for diving in and viewing these changes between test plans. So going back to my simulator environment, I have this open test plan, and we'll start there. So every test plan that you create and open, at the top of the window, it always displays the title of the test plan, but then it also displays the timestamp. This always gives you a glimpse of when the last save for this test plan was made, and you'll see where that comes back into play later when we start talking about file versions and how it relates to Guru with the test plan saving. So let's jump to the first thing, which is how to start a new test plan. So to start a new one, you come to the main system window, and then here under test, we select plans. Now in this select test plan window, there's a bunch of options here. We'll get into that later. That's for searching and finding previously created ones, but we want to make a new one. So we just come down here to new and left click there, and then we get a new test plan to start with. So you can see this one, it's never been saved, so it comes in as a no title. So let's add a test section, test, and then let's put a test panel inside of here. Test is fine, we'll go with that. So what I want to do now is, now that I have my test section and my test panel, let's add some buttons in here. So let's grab this one, and we'll bring this one along with it as well. So, if you're following me along down here on the bottom, you may have missed up there at the top, you noticed as soon as I dropped a block in here, the window title changed. So now it's still not saved, but here it gives us this modified. So that's true at any time you're working with a test plan. As soon as you make a change, dropping a button in, it appends this modified to let you know that this test plan has been changed from whatever version you're looking at, and it has not been saved yet. So let me just add in a couple more things just to make this a more complete test. Let's put in a measure. Bring these guys in. Just make it something that makes sense. Basic setup, right? So here I'm just setting a supply to 10 volts, and then I'm just going to measure that back. So I can go ahead and do a save now. So to do a save, you come up to File, and you come down here to Save Guru. So we're saving this out to the database. Unlike a traditional file system, there's some additional fields we need to fill out here. The title is going to be the name of this test plan, so let's just call this example. Call it example 1. But then I also need to fill out these other fields: type, version, status, and category. These are attributes that come along with a test plan, and this is how actually we can use these to narrow down search fields when we go to find this again. Because remember, we're saving this out to a database. There could be hundreds of thousands of test plans out there, and so just searching by name can be a really difficult way. So this gives us a way for not only linking our test plans to other objects that we create in the Cassini environment, but also it helps us out in finding them again later. These first 3 fields, you can click on the drop-down field here, and we can select from previously created types, or you also can create new ones if you want. So if I wanted to create a new one for, maybe call it example 55 to make it unique, I could do that. But then you also see as soon as I start typing in here, it's actually jumping. So if I give it, a D, it jumps to all the D's, F, so on and so forth. But I think I'll use someone that already exists. This is just a demo, so we'll just call it type demo. Version is just an additional field for us to give it some kind of versioning, so we can track it as we save it over time. So this is the first one that's called 0. Status is a special attribute for read-write privileges. So alpha and beta are both test plans that are in development in various stages of that development, but it makes them both read-write accessible. A released is a special status that locks down the test plan by removing the ability to do a save anymore. So it makes the test plan read-only. So we'll just go with alpha because we're going to make some changes. And then category, now this one you cannot in this field add your own. This is just a drop-down that we can select from here. But if I did want to add one, and I'll add a new category for this one just to show you what that's like, you come down here to add category. And I'll call this one, I'll create a new category called web video, and then I can select it from here. So categories are permissions, and we'll get into permissions a little bit later. They're a special type of attribute that's used in other ways to link the test plan to other objects. But in this case, I'm just going to use it as basically a sorting parameter. And then I'll just type W, and that jumps me down to the one I just created, and then I can go ahead and do a save. So now you can see it's updated the top of my window. Here's my title now in example 1, and then it's added this timestamp. If I were to make other changes to this into saves, I would be adding to the history. And so let me show you what that looks like. So just for this example, let's just copy this test section and paste it again. And then just for the sake of making it a little bit different, maybe we'll change this one to measure, we'll just say, how about VCC1? So again, as soon as I made a change, you saw that it updates the field up here and adds a modified. And I can come back over here. And so I'm just going to do another save. And so this is going to be adding to the history of this one. But when I select it, you see it pops open the Save Test Plan window again. I can make changes to attributes. As long as I keep the title the same, I'm adding to my file history. Now, if I wanted to do a save as, if I wanted to fork this off and to create a new one, all I have to do is give it a different title, and now that's a separate test plan. But I want to show you the history on this one, so let me do another save and leave everything the same. Maybe we'll just roll the version. And you can see it updates my timestamp here. Now, to show you what a save as would be, and maybe we can do a comparison. If I come back here and say I want to make a new, I want to fork this off and make it its own, a new set one. I can give it another title. It's called example 2, and I'll save it that way. And it updates this one again. Now it's example 2 with that timestamp. So now I'll show you what I mean by looking at the file history. So now that we've done a couple of saves, let's go back and open up example 1 again. That way we can look at how to track down test plans that we've created. So use the attributes to narrow down my search fields. And since I know that I created a unique category, if I use that one, I can get right back to this one a lot quicker. So I'm going to hit W, and that jumps me down to web video. And now you can see that my search field is much more manageable. I can select the one I want, and then just left click on select to open it. So this was the test plan I started out with, and I did 2 saves to it before I forked off and created example 2. So let me show you what I meant by every time I do a save without changing the title, I'm adding to the file history. Well, what's important to note is when we make a request to Guru to give us a test plan, Guru always gives us the latest version of whatever file or resource we're trying to work with. And so in the test plans, when I ask for example 1, it's always going to default to giving me the latest save that I have. And so that's this timestamp here. But I can always go back and look at the history if I want. And to look at the history, you come over to File, and then you can select Show History. And this pops up this Pick History window, and this allows me to select either one of the 2 saves that I've done. So it's showing me the 2 timestamps of saves. So if I want to look at the very first one I worked on, I can just left click to highlight, and then left click on select. And then here's the version, the first one I worked on where I only had one test section in it. And you can see actually in the top of the field here, right, it's showing me the timestamp. So here this one was at 2:52 and this one up here at 2:54. So that's what I mean. Every time you're doing a save and you keep the title the same, you're actually adding to the history of the test plan. Now if we come to example 2, so let me close these two guys now. You remember example 2, we forked from example 1. So when we come to this one, because this is a save as, when we come and look at its history, we see we only have the 1. So when we forked off, it started its own history, and this is the first instance in this new history. This is what I mean by saves versus save as. So this is something to think about when you're doing test development, to keep this in mind in your workflow about how you want to work with test plans and the tools that are available. So this is one way to look at previous versions of the test plan, but the next thing that's really useful for test development is we want to actually look at iterative changes where we're moving buttons, adding things, changing values. And so we have another useful tool for that. Let's take a look at, I have an open test plan back here, and it's been worked on several times. So the latest one of it here was done back in July 26th of 2017. But if we go and look at this one's file history, you can see this one's been worked on quite a bit over the years. So if we want to look at changes that were made to this test plan, the mechanism for doing that is if we come up here to File, we can go to Compare History. Now this opens up a same kind of dialogue of pick a history. And so what this is we're going to be comparing the test plan that we have currently open with whatever we select in here. So if I select this version of it that we worked on back in 2015, I'll get this window that shows me the differences between that test plan and this one. So let me move these over so we can get a little bit better view of the two. So you can see in this diffs dialog, it has things such as change, added, and then it lists what changed. So we'll just start with the first one. So this one says there was a change in the connect sequence. So if you left click on this, it shows you what the original panel looked like back in 2015. And then if I come back over to my test plan, I can go up to the connect sequence and I can see the new changes, right? So this shows me what it was down here in the bottom, and now you can see that we've added an additional button, a DUT control, VCC1 being set to some symbol value called VCC. And if we look at, as another example, the gain flatness was changed. So I can come down to gain flatness, and here we can see that there was a frequency button that was taken away. So again, another useful tool. Just like the file history, this feature is only available as you make saves to the same test plan and you create a history that allows us to go back and look at changes, and it's a really useful tool. So I hope this tutorial was helpful. Please comment and give us feedback on this video and others you'd like to see below. And for more information, you can check out our other tutorial videos that are on here, as well as download the Cassini user manual from the Apple iBook store.